Yeah, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back to the grind here. And me and the Frankenhover spent a bunch of time this week getting the motor settled into the right spot. Number one, getting the exhaust system figured out. Number two, getting the carburation figured out. Number three, well, not necessarily in that order. And getting it to run right. Number four, well, that was likely number one. Anyway, we got it to run right. Got a tachometer hooked onto it, have the running gear all in place here and working well. And the whole thing, like last time, I think last time I left you, it was just running on one cylinder, not very well. Now it runs quite well on two cylinders. And I had it up just about into the air. It got up and it was rocking, like it's sitting on that and rocking on it. So it just about had some air time. Maybe if I had pulled it out and put it on the ground, it might lift, but still haven't got quite enough. Like there's too many massive air leaks in it to hold air underneath. So we'll get into that next week. That'll be a bunch of fiberglassing, or whenever I get on it next, we'll just see. Anyway, quite happy with the progress, and it might turn into a hovercraft one of these days. Okay, stick around and like and subscribe, and you'll see everything that I did. Okay, bye for now. Okay, yeah, here I am back on the Frankenhoover. Now, this thing here, I don't think it was firing right yesterday. I think it was only firing on one cylinder most of the time. So I'm going to take this apart here and see if I can rejig all this wiring a bit, because I think that wiring's all suspect is a good word. So I'll get to it here. Yeah, I got I've got the magneto off it. I had to rig up a puller to get that off, and then one of those coils on the top there, maybe I'll get in close here, crawl in. This coil on the top has got some damage to it. I don't know, it got bashed somehow. Hopefully that's the coil for the spark. I'm not sure, but there's two up here, so that might be the coil for the spark. I'll look in the book. That would explain why it doesn't spark, or it sparks intermittently. Anyhow, these are not very clean either. I thought I had cleaned them off, but I didn't do a very good job of it, obviously. Maybe I'll see if I can get spark out of the two sides, and then I'll see about ordering up some points for it. The condensers, I don't know, hopefully they're good. We'll just see. Anyhow, it was a struggle to get this magneto off, and I had it off not long ago, but guess that's what happens. Okay, now here I am. Can you hear that? Brakes off when you open them. You can see it here. So that works, that set of points. Anyhow, wait a second till I show you here. You see this right here? That's got to be on the bolt side of a, like there's a plastic isolator in there, and there's a plastic isolator here. So to make it work right, that's got to be on the bolt side. So then when you take it apart, that thing gets all screwy, and it was bent and everything like that. So I think I've got it right now, and now I have to take it apart again and get it hooked onto the wires. That'll be a treat. Breaker points right there, hey? 35 millimeters, 0.35 millimeters. That's that one right here. Where's the number on it? Don't know. 0.35. Yep. Okay, so now I'll get in here and see if I can gap these things. Hang on. Yeah, they're both gapped to 35 millimeters. Wait a minute, I'll get the thing out here and show you. See that little white mark on the bottom there, right here? That's the high point of the lobe. And then that sort of just fits right in there. Now if I turn it around to the high point on this lobe, right here on the top one. So the top one goes to the bottom cylinder, or in this. Slides right in there, just a little bit of drag on it. Now I'm going to put the flywheel back on it. That's everything I have to do in there. There's new wires going out to the plugs, and this green wire goes to the top plug, blue wire goes to this one here, and we'll go from there. Okay, let's see if we got a spark here. I've got my drill, kind of a wobbly thing on that. See if I can do this without breaking myself. Spark on both of them. Not the biggest spark in the world, but spark indeed. So they're sparking all right. There, now that's got spark on both cylinders. I'll leave that hooked up for a while. Well, I'll just get the wires out of the way for a bit until such time as I'm ready. Now this one here, see, I've got this, the green wire goes in there and the white wire goes in there. So this white wire is got to go and hook into the ignition system on each side, because it's to ground it out. So when you turn off the ignition, this will ground out the ignition. So that's what is coming up next. And I've just got it hooked right in there. So now, but I'll have to take them apart and see if I can get a grommet in here to cover up all that stuff in there. Yeah, so I'll make a plug because the grommet doesn't fit in there, but I'll make a little plastic plug to go in there. 19.5 millimeters diameter, about 5 millimeters deep, and then I'll put a lip around it so that it and then the hole, I'll make the hole in it in the middle. How big would I make that? Likely, I'll figure that out. Size of a washer, right? Okay. Anyway, that's enough for today. I got spark on 2 cylinders, and it seems to work okay. Then the next thing I want to do is to get that little grommet thing, 19.5 by 5 millimeters deep, and I'll put about a 12 millimeter hole in it in the middle. I'll make that on a 3D printer, and then I'll put it in there with some silicone. That should hold it all right. Anyway, or some gasket maker or something. I'll put it in there with something. Anyway, see you tomorrow. Make this little plug for over there, and I'll get that on. I'll see about getting the Kickstarter back on it, or the pole starter back on it, and see if it'll run any better. Both cylinders seem to be what do you call that? They both seem to be sparking, so I might get something out of it. We'll see. If we have spark, hey. I can see it. Hopefully you could. Anyway, there's spark there. figure out how to shut it off. Oh dear. Switch there, and if you touch these two wires together, it stops the machine. And if you, so the key is off there, on there, so it should run that way, right? And then let's see right there. Can you see that? The little silver tab there. That's for this thing here. So I'll see how many RPM that the fan is turning. I'm not too concerned about how many RPM the motor's turning. I can figure that out because I know the difference in the number of teeth, or I did at one time. Don't know if I know that anymore. So let's start it up and see what happens. I'll just, well, first I'm going to clean off this stuff here because that was all rattling and making noise. So clean it up and then we'll carry on. Yeah, ignition's on. I've got these wires kind of looked after in there. Well, let's just start it up. I'll do it like that. Yeah, my rev counter must have been catching reflection off of the fan or something, because it was up, you know, big numbers. I don't know why. Anyway, I'll try it again. The ignition switch worked. It shut it off. I'll get it started up and then I'll get the camera going. There it is there. Kills it, right? So it was, when I was revving it up, it was about 1,000 and some odd RPM. So from that I can figure out the tip speed, and I'll see if I can get a tachometer on the motor so that I know what the motor speed is. I suppose I could put a little dab of dewey right there on that, right? And that would give me a motor speed. Okay, maybe I'll do that. Hang on. Yeah, so I've got a little marker right on there, and I'll see what I can come up with here. See if I can make it run again. Ignition on, right? Starts up pretty nice. Wow, famous last words. Oh, there we go. I don't know, was my back in the way? Yeah, so was my back in the way all the time? Anyhow, 25, it was about 2,500 RPM when I had it speeded up there, and that was whatever I said there last time. It's picking up like that, reflects off of that and picks up a whole bunch of whatever. So I'll have to find a good place for it for the stick on that to not get all that reflective data. Anyway, I guess I could put one down here, farther in down there, right? See what I can come up with there. So I put a, whoops, there I go. Yeah, I put a piece right there of the reflective thing, and I'll see if I can get a reading off of that. Hang on. I still can't get a good reading off the top here. It's too much going on. But I can figure it out from the bottom one there, whatever the RPM is, and what, by doing the mathematics, I just have to remember, well, how many teeth are in each one of those gears. Maybe I'll just have to stop and count them again. Anyway, that seems to be running pretty good. So I've got the motor sort of, I'll have to balance the carburetors and stuff like that, but I'm out of gas again, so that'll be later. But the ignition switch works. That's you know, you can turn it off and on. Yay. Okay, that's what's next, eh? Yeah, there, tachometer working. Anyway, tachometer works. The wiring isn't very tight on that. I'll fix up the wiring for it now that I know. So green wire goes to yellow, black, green and black. Yellow wire is the power wire, and that brown goes up here to the voltage regulator, which is just a, you know, voltage regulator. A very simple voltage regulator. Then it comes back out again to the power side of this. And then that's fused in there. So that seems to work. Now, like if I want to put the light on it, I can put the light on it, but I'll get that tack up and running properly, and that's handy to have. I'll just bolt it on right here for now. Anyway, tachometer works. Yeah, so now I've got it wired up. I'm just using a ground on there. Clipped on there. There's a bunch of ground wires hanging around here, so I'll use them later. But now, so this little wiring harness there that I made goes into, these things come together, those things come together, and it goes up into this, which I should put a little wiring harness on that too, eh? Which I might just do. Okay. Then that's actually a ground to go wherever you want it to go to. So I'll do that, right? Yeah, there, that's tachometer. I think it works. Anyway, I made this wiring harness to go up to the voltage regulator. Voltage regulator is just one wire going in, and then it goes to a ground, so it just sort of, I think it's just sort of more of a heat sink than anything else. Then I ran, this is a ground wire that I can use later for something. These two things here, I could have made it into a double like that, which I might do down the road somewhere. You know, it's easy to take them apart and reconfigure them. And then let's see if it works. Okay? I'll get the motor started and see what happens. the carbs are balanced. Oh, that stopped it. Anyway, I'll do that. I think that'll be a tomorrow thing. Balance the carbs. So, anyhow, the tachometer works well and seems to suck through the fuel pretty good. Like you can cut a lot of trees on a chainsaw with the amount of fuel this uses just in warming it up. But all the wiring is good and solid. It's good and solid inside there now, and so we should be pretty happy with it. Now, next is I got to take that apart and get all those set screws in the right spot and drill little holes for them so that they don't move and everything like that. But that's a tomorrow thing too. Then maybe I'll bring the cowling down and put it on and see if it'll run with the cowling on it. That'll be the next. Well, the challenge would be getting the exhaust through the cowling or around the cowling or around the framework. Anyway, I'm happy that I have a tachometer because I ran it up to 3,000 RPM and I can figure out what the RPM on this is, and then I think there's a tip speed that you're not allowed to go past, so I don't think I'll ever get near that because I think it's around 3,500 or 4,000 RPM maybe on that. So the 3-to-1 reduction, 2.8 to 1 I think it is on this thing. So if it's 3,000 here, it's only going 1,000 there. So this would have to be going 7,000 RPM or 8,000 RPM to make the tip speed over speed on that. So, and I think it would all fly apart well before that anyhow. So anyhow, that's good. I'm encouraged. All right, we'll keep on trying. This and this, so that when you pull on this, they both pull up at the same time. We think pretty close anyhow. And then I've also set the idle screws. This idle screw thing was bent, so I think I've got it pretty straight now so that you can actually adjust the idle so they'll be the same. I'll get that set up here soon. I'm going to get it running, but for now I've taken the set screws out of those things there, whatever you call them, the bearings. I've taken the set screws, so this drive shaft will move back and forth a little bit and perhaps find its happy spot. Then I'll mark it and put the set screws in and then go from there. Okay, I'm going to start it up and run it for a bit and I'll show you the results. About the same now. Yeah, they're noisy in there. It's got a pretty high idle. And I'm going to leave it at high idle because it doesn't, it's pulling a load there all the time. So once you get it started, it's all right. I'll have the primers hooked up. And I did use this thing here to set the adjustment on the idle. Then I turned the two screws out on the top. I'll show you, I'm going to show you this. Well, I'll turn it off and I'll explain it to you. So it's all running pretty nice now. Around 1,000 RPM per idle, which is okay. It should be around 8,900. That key works great. Anyway, so here now. I wanted to get these things synchronized to go when they pull on here, they come at the same time. So I undid the lock nut on here, Then I turned this one back until the motor started revving a bit, and that was when it starts pulling on it in here. Then I turned it back like a half a turn or so. Did the same thing with this one, turned it back till the motor started revving a bit. Then they're both like that, sets up that the motor is just pulling those things up a bit. Then I turned them, both of these things, I turned them back in, I think 2 turns, 2 full turns. So a little bit of play on it. And, but when you pull, they both come up at the same time, which is what you need. Anyway, that seems to work okay. Voltage regulator works all right. Tachometer works all right. I could run lights and stuff on it if I wanted to. It's got lots of electricity generating. And I guess that coil in there that was a little bit bashed up, it seems to be still working. I loosen this off and let it sort of run. But you know, when you rev it up, it's gonna, of course the propeller's gonna pull it all that way. So I'd let it sit at idle, and it's pretty close to, you know, a happy spot there. A little bit, like I don't know that that's 100% lined up. The bottom one seems to be good. The top one's a little bit, should go that way a little bit. Maybe I could do that. I could likely loosen that up and let it go that way a bit. There's room on the keyway for that. Anyway, is that the one I'm missing? I don't know. Somehow it was hooked. Like I've been looking all over for this thing, and it was hooked. There's a magnet on the side of this camera for mounting it, like you can mount it on metal surfaces with a magnet. Oh, looking for that, and there it is, right in front of my face. So I'll put it in the proper hole there. Okay. Anyway, that was 5 minutes of your time that you needed to spend, right? Is the next piece of the puzzle. So we'll see about getting this on and see where it goes from there. Yeah, you saw me with this thing here. This measures airflow into the carburetor. So as long as you don't block it all off with your hand, then you can get the airflow. And the carburetors, they should be the same on, you know, try and make them synchronize. It's called a synchrometer, of all the things in the world. Try and make them the same for both carburetors, and then that it works pretty good. No point talking when the motor of this thing's running, because it's a little bit too loud. I'll take the fan off here and just get it out of harm's way while I'm trying to get the body on. And then while this is apart, I'll put a couple of I've got these heavy duty things here that can go on to the drive shaft. Hold those, just give it an extra, like I'm going to put one here, one here, one here, and one here, or maybe one in the front of it or something. We'll just, yeah, it's got to be on the behind of it, I guess. I don't think this will move because it's pretty solid, so maybe just one here, one here, one here, maybe one here. We'll just see where they go.
Spacers in here now too.
So I'll remount it on there and get the washers and everything in the right spot, and then we'll maybe I'll put a rock washer on both sides of that thing, eh? We'll just see if I can find some more lock washers. I got 4 of them. We'll see. Now, that should get it pretty close to okay. And I see there's some movement here you can have, but what, oh yeah, I was going to tell you,
This bearing wasn't seated in that pillow hub correctly. There's like a little metal guide thing, so that the bearing should be able to move a little bit like this. You see? Oh, geez. Call me a liar now. But you see how that bearing can sort of just wiggle back and forth, so that it's not. It's sitting in there. It'll seat itself, so it doesn't have any side pressure on the bearing, and that was what was happening. There was a bit of side pressure on the bearing, so it was pushing some of the grease out there. Now I felt the bearing feels okay still, so I'll use it for a while. It'll likely wear out before the back one does, because the back one was seated right and it looks okay. Anyway, bearings, hey, keepers. I'll call them keepers, ready to just, you know, extra protection against that thing sliding back and forth, I guess. The what else? Now I counted while it was off. I counted the teeth. 80 teeth on that, and on the bottom in there, it's 30 teeth on that. So I'll have to do the math. I'll do the math and let you know. Yeah, so 2.66 reduction. So if that thing is, if the motor's turning 3,000, this one here is turning, you know, about 1,100 and some odd. Wait a minute, I got the number here. 1127 at 3,000 RPM. So at 5,000 RPM, well, what is it? I would never get to 5,000, but 4,000 might get to. So that'd be 1,500 on the prop, and then I'll figure out the distance and see what the end of the speed of the tip speed would be at that. How many feet per second, and then you can go to whatever you need to do. Okay, I'll figure that out later. Yeah, so that's all for today anyhow, and we'll carry on tomorrow. Maybe I'll get the whatever you call that, get the cowling on here tomorrow. I've got the exhaust pipe out of the way, and this stuff all back together. I put the propeller in the other shop, just in a safe place out of the way, so it won't get hurt. So once I get that, I don't know, can you see it out the door there? On the tractor is the body of this thing. When I get that on, then I'll put the propeller back on and just see how things work. See if it works. And while I was at it, I put those spacers underneath there in the right spot, so they're good, and everything seems to be okay. Tomorrow I'll run the motor a little bit and just let this thing center itself. Then I'll let it. Let it be. Then I'll tighten up all of the sprockets, all of these things, because when I ran it with these things loose before, then of course the propeller is going to be pulling it out, right? So. Oh well, smart guy I am some days, right? Waste my time. Oh well, waste your time too. Nothing like YouTube for wasted time. Okay, see you tomorrow. That's sort of sitting in the groove okay there. Tension, we're hoping is all right. You can get a harmonic tuner, so you pluck on it and it tells you whether you're in the right tension or not on your phone. So I'll figure that out one of these days and get that. See what it says. So now I'm going to leave the propeller off whilst I try and load the body onto it. We'll see how that works out. Okay. Then we'll go to try and figure out how to make the cord, make the rip cord come through the body. That'll be the next challenge, right? Okay, get the cowling on without wrecking too much. Anyway, I had it on the tractor. I had it on the tines of the tractor, that pallet lifter stuff. Then I ran it over to this, ran it over to there, and then along now I've got to move that sawhorse in so that it doesn't just fall off of that yet. Okay, so here's some exciting viewing, right? For A, it's a fairly tight fit on the exhaust manifold, which we'll have to solve. And B, it's a fairly tight fit on the intake manifold, which we'll also have to solve. So that would be maybe cutting a couple of holes into it. We'll just see how things go here. I think the original engine was tilted a bit, and that would allow it to, well, still the carburetors have to be level. Anyway, so what I'll do is I'll take the exhaust manifold off of there, which has been off and on a few times. Then I'll get this thing fitted on, and then we'll see how we're going to make that exhaust fit on. Okay, so just those bolts here, take off the exhaust manifold, and then we'll be able to lay it down, and I'll show you that as we get there. Yeah, exhaust manifold's off. Try it again. Yeah, here I am. So now, that part of the motor is slightly in the way. But I guess that's nothing that I can cut that out of it. Right here. Maybe make a cut here and see if I can get that to be out of there. Then I'll have to rebuild it with fiberglass. More fiberglassing. Guess I have to get that grounded out of the way there before too long. Right away. Otherwise that won't sit right. Anyway, I think that's, then these sit up pretty high. So I might have to cut that back a bit here. We'll just see how it comes. I can get ones that don't sit so high, but you likely need the clearance there anyhow. Anyway, okay, carry on. Yeah, so interesting. I had to do a little bit of cutting back here. So what will happen now is once I put the bassinet on, then I'll figure out how far it comes down here, and then I'll make it come straight out like this, and then down here to meet there. Make it out of fiberglass, and I'll figure out. I'll have to get this thing cut and straightened out so that it comes out right there, and then I'll put the exhaust pipe on somehow. See how these things line up for exhaust system. Then what's next on the list? Oh yeah, and then over here I had to cut a port. For the exhaust, for the intake to come out. So that actually looks kind of cool. I imagine that I'll have to, I'll make something to screw onto there that's just goes over, and I'll make the holes for those things to come out, and for the carburetors to come out, just little holes, and then I'll be able to put the air box on out here or something like that, or just leave it like that because it looks cool. Okay. Mind you, that would be, you need the air box because it'll be in some dusty conditions here and there. Maybe I'll put some filters on it. Yeah, that'd likely work okay. Put a filter on there of some sort. We'll see. Anyway, that seems to That took less cutting than I thought it would take. Mind you, I did caught the edge of one of my high tension wires with the grinder. Don't think I hurt it any. If I have to, I'll get another high tension wire, I guess. But for now, it's all right. And I have to get a spot for the ripcord to come out. So the ripcord I want to come out right about here. Right about here. I'll just drill a hole in there, and then the ripcord can come out. So I'll bolt it down a little bit. Then I'll put the whatever you call that thing, the fan on, and see what happens. It might be kind of interesting to see what happens. You never know what'll happen here. There, how's that look, eh? So I guess I've got it. I intended to have the propeller just behind this, but likely that's where it is. And if I moved it back more, it's getting too close. Leave some airspace there. So that will make it better. Then if I do, like, I'll change this configuration so that it comes up higher to here anyhow. That'll make it better for airflow down to there and out the back and everything like that. So we'll just build it as we go. That may take some changing on this because I got that down pretty low, so I may just cut this up higher across here and make it come down on a slope. That wouldn't hurt anything. And I just use that piece of fiberglass that I've already got built for just bend it up and slope it across. Okay, well that works. Anyway, first things first, I'm gonna get it to run in here like this, and then we'll just see what we're gonna do after that. I don't want to jump the gun. I guess I better get my exhaust system hooked up first. So that'll be next on the list. I'll cut it across here and see if I can reconfigure it so it comes out more on a better angle. See what happens here. Well, changed the angle on it, welded it up again, so it should work okay now again. I'll get it mounted on the motor and sticking out the side here. So the only thing sad about this is that every time you want to change the want to pull that off, you have to take the exhaust manifold off, which isn't too tough to do. So anyway, I'll get it on and then we'll see how things work out from there. Yeah, there. Now that's looks like a bit of a breakfast there, right? Anyway, the Pooch's breakfast right there. But now that's an extension that was on it before on the skidoo part when it was on that skidoo way over there. This extension was on it, and that sort of works out okay. Now I'll get the muffler and I'll make the muffler so that it fits somewhere out here. Don't know how yet, but we'll work on that. And anyway, that's for tomorrow. So I did all right today anyhow. Got this is on here, like I've got it bolted down, 3 bolts there, 2 bolts, 2 bolts, and I've got a bolt right there and a bolt right there. So all the front is good. A little, like the back is just a bit high, but that's easy to push down. And as time goes by, I'm pretty sure it's going to get stretched a bit. So this makes it, when you take off that part, then you can actually, what am I trying to say? When you take off that part, you can actually squeeze the cowling off without removing the muffler again. So that's straightened out pretty good in there. Can you see that? I don't know what you're looking at there for sure. Yeah, that's the muffler right there. You can see it. Anyway, good enough for now, and see you tomorrow. Yeah, got to step back a bit. It's starting to look a bit more like a hovercraft now, eh? Might be okay when it gets done. Maybe. It maybe even will work. We'll see. Anyway, that's all for now. Into a straight shot into there, right? And then we'll see about getting a little bit of a I mean, somehow it'll mount on here. We don't know yet how, but that's going to be exhaust blowing right into somebody's leg there. I'll have to change that around. I'll make it so I'll clock that around so it turns that way eventually. Anyway, but first I'll cut that off and weld it back on. More exhaust pipe welding. Kind of fit like that. I'll build a bracket back here to hold it on there, and build a bracket up here. It's already got these things for tying it down. In fact, it's got the spring thing for tying it down here, which I can likely use. Anyhow, we'll see what I can come up with here. I have to fill that, that's still hot, fill that gap, which I'll cut a piece of metal for, which my thing there for cutting. Anyway, we'll get to it. Down, and you just pull on the lever and see if you got it on the right trajectory there. But there's my little piece of metal, and that's reasonably close to what I have here. Not 100%, but oops, reasonably close to what I have. I'll see if that'll bend around and fit into place. If not, I'll cut another piece of metal out of here. See how it goes. Hooked on there and welded around fairly well. Messy, ugly weld, but it'll hold. And the springs seem to hold. That one over here on this side, I had to put this brace back on, this brace here back onto it, and so it's stretching that spring a bit. I'll see if I can find a longer spring somewhere. I think this one here would do it, eh? Maybe I'll do that. I'll trade out this spring for here, and that would work better, I think. Okay, I'll do that. That's all set. Anyway, that's about all for today, because I got an invite out to dinner, so I'm gonna go have dinner. See you later. Right? So while I'm welding on it, I might as well take this bit here and just clock it around so it points that way and not into somebody's legs. And that looks like it's all hooked up okay, so pretty good connection. I'll make a bracket here to hold it, and some bracket here to hold it. We'll just see how that all works out. Okay. Anyhow, carry on. There's lots of open space back here, but it might create enough enclosure here to get some lift out of it. We'll just see. A little bit hard to change. I'm gonna put more gas in it, but I guess there's gas in that bucket there. I can change that around. Anyhow, we'll see if it'll run with the system all together here. That'll be the next challenge. And I put some primer in the carburetors, so I'll shut the camera off and I'll pull on it a few times until it runs, and then I'll turn the camera back on. Nothing seems to be clacking on anything. I'll put it down on the ground and see if we get any lift out of it. Rattles lots when it sounds like that. Yeah, so the airbag filled up with air down here, the sausage, but nothing, it didn't lift. It maybe needs to be down on the ground better. I'll see if I can do that. And likely it needs more gas. Yeah, it sucked the gas all out of it. That was interesting. It ran nice though. And I headed up at around 4,500 RPM, which seems to be as fast as that motor will turn it. And I'll let the smoke clear out of there for a little while until maybe I'll turn the fan on the other side there. Maybe that motor is not quite powerful enough, eh? but it should be. Or maybe I need to turn the fan so it creates more wind. Or there's other things too, like a lot of air is escaping out all this stuff here. So I might have to get that closed in before it'll actually fly. And anyhow, but that's cool. Well, there. Now it takes some thinking about it, eh? We'll see what happens. Let that smoke clear out for a while. Okay, now here I am back in the carburetors. So I pulled out the slide on this carburetor here, the front carburetor. And the book says that this little, you see that? That's hard to get that focused, eh? Try this. Anyway, you see those little grooves there. So that, what they call an E-clip. The E-clip is supposed to be in the third groove, and it's in the second groove. Don't know why, but that's where it is. So I'm going to change it to the third groove, and it might be a little bit less smoky, hey? We'll just see. There, you see that now? I've moved it down to the third groove on that one. I'll do the other one and put it all back together. Yeah, so I found another little thing on the carburetor. Here's the needle thing, right? Number 5 is a circlip, which I have in there in third thing. Number 6 is packing. It's supposed to be above number 5. In the carburetor I just took apart there, it was below number 5. So I'll change it around because that, you know, interferes with the adjustment of the needles, right? Then I'll go, maybe that's why they were in the next one up, because they had those things upside down. I bet you that's why. So likely the distance was right, just the order was wrong. Okay, I'll see if I can sort it out. Yeah, now the other day I adjusted the sliders on this thing, and don't you know, I read the book today. So the book says you pull the throttle to full throttle and hold it somehow, like tape the throttle open or put a pair of vice grips on it. Then loosen this jam nut right here, put your finger in here and move that, screw this back and forth until the slider just comes to the very top of the bore here. And you do that on both sides, and then that's the correct position, like then they're balanced, like at full throttle they're balanced. Then it says drop them down, turn the idle, this is the idle screw here, turn that out and back in until the slider just starts moving, then turn it in 2 turns for initial. And this one here, same thing, both of them 2 turns for the initial setting. Then this is the air mixture screw on the side here, and that's supposed to be a 1.5 turns out. Same on both of them, 1.5 turns out. So I'll see if I can get that. And then it says on the air mixture, that's the idle circuit for the air mixture. Then that's says 1.5 turns plus or minus 1/8 of a turn. So it's nothing, doesn't give you much room for error there, which is okay because that it doesn't seem to make much difference whenever you turn that thing. But I think we get it right, and then I can. Then once it's set up that way, I'll set the idle up with the synchronizer thing, right? 18 liters, and I mixed it up 50-1 with synthetic oil. Start again. So anyhow, got enough fuel here now. That's 50-1 mixed up with synthetic oil, and got a filter on it. Going to the pump over there. I don't think it's leaking over there. Let's have a look down. No, it looks like it's all okay. Then I could hook up the primer on here. That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? Make life easier. Maybe I'll do that. I'll hook up the primer and see if I can get that to work properly. That'd be just another chunk of hose right in here. Okay, hang on. Yeah, now there's the primer hooked up. I've primed it 3 or 4 times, but we'll have to get the fuel line filled up properly before, you know, it'll really hold the prime well. So that thing's mixed with fuel and oil. There was raw, like unmixed gas in the fuel line, so I had to dump that out and then put it back in the tank. And then it started coming with mixed gas. You can see the color of it. So anyhow, I'll get it started and see how it goes. Yeah, there it's running again. Not as smoky. causing a blockage, and so is that. Okay. that's fairly cool. Now, next thing is to get it off of here and see if I can see if it'll have any lift. I don't know what'll happen. That'll be it's not very light anymore. And there's that hump right in the middle there. But that hump shouldn't it should be able to figure that out. So I'll see if I can get it off the lift and get these boards out of the way, which are creating, seems to be lots of air going into the front of the thing here, and it seems to be a lot less smoky now that I've got nice 50-1. I think I have that other oil is not quite as good. Not as good a oil, right? So I'll run it for a bit and then I'll check the plugs and see how they look. But maybe I'll get some lift out of it. We'll just see. What time is it now? 3:30. Yeah, I might be able to. Yeah, there it's all on the ground now. Let's see if that baggie fills up to there. And it started on the first pulse. Yeah, nothing like lots of exhaust in here. Anyway, it wanted to lift, and I think that we're getting close, eh? So likely if I seal up some of this escaping air business here, like right here, and I make it so that more, like if I make this come out here and down to here, then that'll create a better environment for the airflow, and more might go down below. Then, if that doesn't work, I'll have to change the pitch on the propeller. I'll look into that because I think you can change the pitch on the propeller. Now, if I made it a finer pitch, it would rev higher, and that might push more air through, right? Don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the gurus say about it. Anyway, I had it up to like about 4,000 RPM, and then it started rocking, and that's a good sign. So maybe, I don't know what the top speed of that thing is. Might need a few more RPM on the tip there, or well, just closing all this stuff in because it's lots of air blowing out where it shouldn't blow out. So I'll see about that. See about getting that sorted out, then we'll go from there. Cool. I'm quite pleased. Anyway, but that's about where we leave it today. I think it's Friday and I should get a video out, so I'll call it off right here, and then tomorrow we'll think about what I want to do next. It might be just a bunch of fiberglass work and fairly boring stuff, but it runs nicely. Fuel system seems to work okay, and it just about wants to lift. So hey, maybe we have a craft, not necessarily a hovercraft, but we have a craft. So we'll just see if we can get it beyond that. Okay, bye for now. Harvest the grass, as John says down the way. But the azalea is coming along quite nicely, and so is a rhododendron. And those little blue flowers, I don't know what they are, but they're little blue flowers. So it all looks quite nice. Anyway, there you go. I'll get out to work. Yeah, here it is. June 5th. Lots of these little buttercup flowers everywhere, hey? And that's the red-winged blackbird there. They must have some babies somewhere that they're trying to distract me from. See if anything's happening on the pond. The doggy's after something in there. Nope, nothing happening on the pond. Tide's pretty high-ish, right? It's been windy for a few days here. Temperature's okay though. You can take a bit of wind if the temperature's okay. Yeah, I think tide's high as it's going to be today. There you go, another lovely day at Holland Cove.